I've learned two things, and here's my best advice that I can probably give. One, the first thing you have to learn is to believe in yourself, and that's really hard, right? But the second thing is you have to learn to, when other people don't believe in you, right? You have to be able to stand in your place to get people to believe in you. And if you can't do that, you're going to have a tough time in this world, because those are the two things that are really, really critical for success.
Hey, Dr. Bill here. New studio, right? So it's been kind of crazy, but the podcast has exploded. I think we're #1 in Finland now. We're #3 in Poland. We're in the top 7 in the top 107 countries, and we're 94th out of 47,000 in the United States.
Amazing.
And so our podcast guy said, you need better equipment. So here we go. So you're actually the first speaker that's doing the new equipment. So let me know if the sound quality is better, you guys who have been listening. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend Tim McGrath.
Ted.
I'm so sorry, Ted McGrath. He is a best-selling author and entrepreneur. He's created a multi-million-dollar business teaching coaches, speakers, and business owners how to turn their experience into a lucrative business that impacts millions. He basically has 3 parts to his business. The first part is called Message to Millions. And in Message to Millions, what they do is they work with you to give you kind of an online presence and work with your online engagement to get your message out to millions. The second part is a speaker component. It's called Superstar Speakers, and basically what they do is they teach you better speaking kind of skills. They teach you how to book seminars. They teach you how to actually put on your own seminars and how to get out in the speaking world as a speaker. So everything that has to do with speaking, they teach you. And then the third component of his business is actually going to be a film. And Ted has done a very popular kind of a one-man show on the story of his life, and they're turning that into a film. They're casting it, and it will be a feature film.
Yeah.
Did I get it all?
You got it, man. All of it.
All right. So how did you start this whole Message to Millions thing?
You know, I started at 21 in the insurance business, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I got interviewed by this guy. He's like, come work for me in the insurance business. You can make a lot of money. The only thing I wanted at that time was, really searching for his approval, And so, I went out and I cracked 6 figures my first year, and I OD'd that night from drugs and alcohol. And
wow.
And I was like, well, money didn't do it, so I'll go after, status.
And I woke up the next morning, I was like, kind of passed out. We both did, and I was alive. And I was like, well, money didn't do it, and so let's see if I can get promoted into management. And I did, and I became one of the top partners for the company. And then I had that question, like most people do, is this really all there is to my life? And I was never interested in finance, really. It was just, I didn't have a better plan. So I left, became an entrepreneur, and I had some speaking skills because I spoke while I was at New York Life, and started my first 2 businesses and bombed, and then lost, I was in California, I had the $1 million condo, $100,000 car, and just, house in foreclosure, my face in my hands, like what the hell do I want to do with my life? And then I realized I had skill sets, so I'm like, well, I should do some coaching and speaking because I developed some skills while I was at New York Life. That's how I started.
And so when you first started, how do you get out there like, hey, I'm here? I mean, did you start off with friends you knew, or did you just create a website and hope that people would find it? Like, how do you start something like that?
Yeah, it's interesting. We started doing some interviews with authors at the time, And so that was one of our first businesses. We're going to interview authors and create this community of authors and speakers, my business partner and I.
So, I mean, what was the purpose of actually interviewing authors?
We wanted to create a worldwide membership series, where we could interview some of the top talent and authors and thinkers in the world. And we started doing it, and then all of a sudden, we kind of diverted back to doing it with mortgage professionals and insurance people. my partner at the time wanted to do that. I was like, I didn't get in this game to do
But
that.
I mean, how do you monetize that? Like you interview an author, and then what do you
Yeah.
do? You sell the interview, or do you make a series and
The idea would be like a membership series for them to do that. But I quickly was like, I started interviewing an author, and I was listening to him. I'm like, I mean, I could do this. So while I was on the phone with interviewing somebody, I literally sent out an email to my list of people, which was small, and I put on my first interview series with myself. Like, I was like, I'm going to show up and just do a talk. And I did that, and like there were like 50 people who showed up, and I was like, I can do this, right? And because I had sales skills, I had leadership skills, I had all these skills that I developed. And then from there, I just started getting some coaching clients. I needed money, so I started getting some coaching clients. And then as I built that up a little bit, I started speaking at local events, whether it were 2 people or 10 people or whatever. And then, soon after that, I started leading my own seminars, where I would first one was like, small, 25 people in the room. Second one had 80 people in the room. And it was just
and
networking.
the purpose of the seminar was like I'm Dr. Bill Dorfman,
Yeah.
and I have a dental practice, and I need more clients. Ted, teach me how to get clients in my office.
Yeah. Like initially, the purpose of the seminar, like I was still discovering what the brand was. It wasn't Message to Millions at the time because I wasn't doing that. I wasn't getting my Message to Millions. But it was just teaching people, like, how do you go get clients, teaching them sales skills, teaching them basic things that they could do. And I had success with that 80-person seminar. We made about 6 figures at that second seminar. And from there, I was like, well, I can do this. And then I started leveraging my stage. I'd be like, hey, do you want to come speak on my stage? And I would swap stages with people. So then I started getting on stages with 4 or 5, 600 people. And I would go on the stage and I would sell. And then I would fill my rooms.
And what you were selling was really Message to Millions and superstar speaking.
Yeah, initially then as I started to become a speaker, because I had experience speaking at New York Life. Like I did seminars there. So initially I was like, okay, well, let me teach you how to lead your own seminars, because that's what I was doing. And so I got a bunch of clients. I formed my own mastermind, did that. And then I got that business up to 7 figures just offline doing it. And then from there I was like, well, this is not scalable. There's no way to scale this. So I was one of these guys who was like, I hate marketing. I know nothing about it, but I'm going to learn it. And about 6 years ago, I made the decision to really start learning Facebook advertising. And I built a team. And since then, we've done extraordinarily well in our business. And
So how many people are actually working for your company now?
44 maybe?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah.
And they're all here, LA based?
They're all over, Philippines, London. Thank God they're not all here because of the employee laws in California. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? So,
I do know. I do
yeah,
know.
I know that too,
Yeah.
man. So we basically have them all over. Like there might be 4 or 5 here in California, but we have them all over the country, all over the world. And we have a sales team of about maybe 13, 14 now.
And so basically what your sales team is selling is membership to your program,
Yeah.
where they get speaker training and they learn
Message to
online
millions, yeah.
messaging.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And so they come in, like we bring them in through the funnel. We spend a couple $100,000 a month on advertising. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube is kind of thriving for us. We only spend about $20,000 a month on that, but the other 2 we have mastered. And so like last week we put in $1 and we made $4.20 back cash, right? In our pocket, not sales, cash. So we really know the game. And we now have a sales team that anytime we advertise that somebody buys a product for $37, they get on the phone with a salesperson, and our salespeople have hundreds of calls a week, and they sell a $2,000 program. And then immediately after that, if we feel they're qualified, then we offer them to come to the mastermind with me. The $2,000 program is Message to Millions. That's online, and so that's all virtual, and I don't deliver any of it. But the $9,000 program that we sell is a mastermind, and they get to come in person with me. We'll do that once a quarter with like 60, 70 people in the room.
And is that all over the world, or is it usually in LA, or?
It's here in LA, but people fly from all over, whether it's Spain or Vancouver or, people come from South
Cool.
Africa.
When's the next one?
We have one coming up in May. I think it's May 23rd or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I'd
we have
love to come and watch.
Yeah, you can. And we have our Message to Millions live event coming up, which will have hundreds of people there. That's coming up in March, so you can come stop by on that one too. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
awesome. That sounds awesome. And so all of this you really learned kind of on the fly.
On the fly, yeah, 100%. I mean, even especially the advertising, like we hired outside firms initially, but I made it a point to like hire somebody in-house, and I was going to train her, and she's still with me to this day. She's awesome. And we just had outside agencies kind of training us. And the moment we thought like, wow, we're better than them as we were testing it, we just kind of, let go of the agency. And we brought on other people, but nobody's been able to beat what we're doing. And I don't think it's because we're the best in advertising. I think it's because we know our brand the best.
I was just going to say
Yeah.
that. You know what? So
Yeah.
when we had Discus Dental, we worked with all these outside advertising agencies,
It's a nightmare.
right? And, well, you hit the nail on
Yeah.
the head. We actually made an in-house ad agency.
Yep.
Why? Because we knew our customers better than the ad agency
100%.
did. And the other thing is, when we would get back all the reports, we could see what was working and what wasn't working, right?
Yeah.
And the stuff that wasn't working, obviously, we tweaked and we made
Totally.
better. The stuff that was working, we put more money into.
100%.
And I mean, we came up with things like, I'll tell you what was one of the most effective things for us. And you have to understand, this was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Giant postcards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we would send out these postcards that were this big with all the information for these new products. Why is that effective? Number one, it sticks out.
Yep.
Number two, they don't have to open anything.
Yeah.
If you send somebody a letter, and this was before email was really even a thing, right?
Yeah.
If you send somebody a letter, they have to open it and look inside. They can't not see this,
Right, totally, yeah, yeah.
And man, we hit it out of the park
Yeah,
every time.
yeah.
We came up with this thing in dentistry. We were this is a no-brainer. And every time we put something like that, boom, we sold out. I mean, it was crazy.
It's amazing. And I think what you're saying too, to speak to your point, is like when you find your strategy and you know it, there could be 10 other strategies that are better. But if you have one strategy that works, I always tell people pick one. Don't try 14 things at once.
Totally.
Just do it,
So here's the thing that I think differentiates my podcast from other ones. A lot of podcasts will interview guys like you
Yeah.
and successful people, but this podcast is really for students.
Yeah.
And so if I'm a kid and I'm in high school or I'm in college and I say, I love what Ted's doing, how did you start? Like, give them like a blueprint for like, okay, if you want to get into my business and do what I'm doing, you need to do this, this,
Yeah.
this, and this. Like,
Yeah.
what are the things that they should be learning now? What are the things that they should be like paying attention to? And how could they start up a business kind of like yours?
Yeah, I think, well, number one, develop some type of skill set like marketing, especially younger kids today who are on social all the time, right? I'm not a very active social person at all. We advertise a ton, but like younger people live on it, right? So that's a skill set that can be easily learned today and probably you grew up with. So know your skill set is the first step and be like, wow, I have something of value here.
And you know what? I'm going to add to this. Know what you're good at and know what you're not good at, because you don't have to be good at everything, but you can hire people who are good
totally.
at those things. So you got to kind of be honest with yourself and say, okay, like I'm good at this, I'm not good at this. Find somebody who's great at that
Totally.
that can do that,
yeah.
right?
And just understand your business, like understand every aspect. Like for me in marketing, I don't get into Facebook and do the ads, but I understand every function in terms of the bigger picture of how it works. So I think if you're developing a skill set, do what you love, get good at something, and I think if you're younger, learn marketing, right? And then secondly, once you have that, package it. Package it into like, hey, if I were to teach somebody this in 5 steps, right, and break it down of like, here's the 5 things that I know about marketing, just write it down, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you'll look outward and you'll see something on a piece of paper, you'll be like, wow, I actually have a skill set. Because all of us as entrepreneurs, like because we do something every day, we're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. We're not that great at it. But when you really look at what you do and you break it down, you realize, wow, you get a real skill set here that's of value. And you have to see that first as an entrepreneur so you can get paid. And that's, if you're going to build a business, you have to see that. Then once you see that, well, as a marketer, obviously you could start, creating a plan to actually go out and market yourself. But even if you just see that, you could go get clients. And that's what I did initially. Step one was like, let me just go enroll some clients. And I think that's another skill. Step three is get good at selling. You know, if you don't know how to enroll people, it's tough to build a business.
Let's get personal a sec.
Yeah.
What would you say is the greatest attribute that you possess that made you successful?
It's a great question. So I'm persistent as hell. You know, when I go back to tennis, when I played collegiate tennis, and I walked on, you know, my coach was just like, it was the #1 team in the nation. The coach is just like, you're not good enough, dude. You know, like, go try out for a Division III school. You know. And so I listened to that, but I think one of the greatest things I've done is I just disagree with things that aren't true to me, you know? So I just knew that this is my path, and I came and showed up to play for the team, and the coach was like, what the hell are you doing here? We only take scholarship players. I'm like, I want to try out. So I tried out, and I beat out the walk-on players, and they took me on the team. And by my senior year, I was co-captain of the team, you know? And I got the shit kicked out of me for 3 years. Like, you know, like, I was supposed to never start, and when I did, I lost 28 out of 30 matches. But I learned something there that, one, you can learn anything. And that's my greatest attribute today is, like, I believe that, because I know how to study now, so I'm like, I can understand anything. And so now I'm not just persistent, but I know I can understand anything. And that's what allowed me also to get into the acting field, too, of, you know, at 34 years old at the time, I had no acting experience except as a kid doing little shows. And so I was like, but I can do this thing, and look what I've created today. And a lot of people, I've learned two things, and here's my best advice that I can probably give. One, the first thing you have to learn is to believe in yourself, and that's really hard, right? But the second thing is you have to learn to, when other people don't believe in you, right? You have to be able to stand in your place to get people to believe in you. And if you can't do that, you're going to have a tough time in this world, because those are the two things that are really, really critical for success.
Two things. What's next?
The film. So
The film?
Good Enough, yeah. So I started on my journey about 6.5 years ago with Good Enough, the one-man play. And it was simply because I saw a guy do a one-man play, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And I just knew it. And so we just did a 6-week run here in Hollywood. We had a bunch of directors and people come see it for film, right? And people liked it. And so, and my director's amazing. I mean, he's a Broadway guy, 9 Broadway shows starring him, right?
Wow.
So we've really taken the play to the next level. And now, a year ago, again, talking about belief, I had this idea. I'm like, I'm going to do a film and talk about people not believing in you, right? People are like, you're going to do what? You're crazy? And look what I pulled together. I pulled in a great director now. You know,
right.
He's number 43 on IMDb. I pulled in, you know, amazing writers, right? And now we have this thing, and we got the funding for it too. And so we're ready to start casting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And the last thing is, if any of my students out there want to contact you or find out more information about you or your company, how do they do that?
You can just go to tedmcgrathbrands.com, you know, and just TEDMCGRATH brands, BRANDS.com, and just go. There's a bunch of free stuff on the website. You can go grab that and pick what you like, whether it's speaking or whether it's online marketing. Just grab something.
If students, so your the Message to Millions seminars in May here.
Yeah.
If students wanted
March,
if students wanted to come, how could they do that?
You could send in. I mean, we'd give them a discount. Obviously, the students. You know, it's a $2,000 ticket, but if students wanted to come, we'd give it to them for like $97. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then just go to. I mean, I guess you could email us. info@tedmcgrathbrands.com.
Cool.
So, and just tell them, you know, you can just put in the headline student, and then we'll know to give you a ticket if you want to come. It's here in Los Angeles in March. I think it's March 12th through the 15th. Or, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Ted,
Yeah.
thank you
Pleasure,
so
man.
much.
Yeah. Great
That
job
was
on Leap,
awesome.
man. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I'd love to have you come as a speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is it? I'll come.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Dr. Bill, over and out.
Pleasure, guys. Take care.